Hello everybody, this is Taps from Taps Codes, and this is a demonstration of my first software release, which is MuseAmp. And what it basically does is it normalizes the volume in audio files like it says right here. At the moment, it only works with MP3 files, FLAC files, and that's it actually, just those two file types at the moment. I will be adding support for more file types in the future, and once I do, I'll make another video on this channel here to let everyone know that that update came out. But yeah, it's inspired by MP3 gain, which did kind of the same thing. And what that means is it keeps your audio at the same level between your different music files, right? A lot of time people really like using streaming services because whenever you use a streaming service and you play music on your car, you don't have to constantly change the volume back and forth every 2 seconds between every song. Now, you still might do that if you want to hear a song louder or quieter, but if you just want to listen to a song, you just want to listen to music, you often don't have to change the volume every song because they already do this on streaming services. And what it does is there's two kind of main functions of this. Either A, we have the apply tag function where I can add a replay gain tag, as it's called, to the file, so that basically the file itself doesn't get changed. Right? You have the original file, the original quality, nothing weird going on there. And then when you put it in a music player, it sees that replay gain tag and basically knows, oh, I should make it this much louder so that it's at the right loudness. And it'll actually adjust it in the music player. And you'll want to do that if you want to maintain audio quality, because the second option is to directly modify the file and make it either louder or quieter to reach the audio level that you want it to be at. Now, this is something people like to do. I mean, I like to do it myself, but it does actually have a known drawback that it will damage your music file and it'll make it not the same as it was before. And you can't like reverse it, right? Once you've changed the audio level of the music file directly, you can't change it back. That's why that tagging option exists for people that are really into this stuff and really don't want to damage their music files. That option's there for you. But let's go over how to install it and actually use it so that you can see it in action. It's pretty straightforward though. On Linux, you just go to your software store of choice and go into it, go to the search bar, type in MuseAmp, find the version by Taps Codes with this icon right here, and then hit install. And it'll install it for you. And while that's installing, which should take a fraction of a second because it's a really small file, I'll show you on Windows and Mac OS how to go about it. Windows and Mac OS don't have as proper of a release yet because I don't have a developer license for either of those platforms because those cost money. Releasing on Linux was free and relatively easy to do actually. But on Windows and Mac OS, I have to spend a good bit of money, especially on Mac OS. I'd have to spend, I think it's $100 a year. Which is, for me at the moment, a bit of money, although I'm sure that'll change in the future, and maybe I'll have a proper release at that point. But yeah, just go to the GitHub repository. I'll link it in the description of this video, so it's easy to find. Go to the Release tab on the right. For people that haven't used GitHub, it's just right here on the side. Hit that Releases button. Scroll past the first one if you're watching it today. I will be fixing this. But go to the next version, right, when it has 5 assets. That's what you're looking for, 5 minimum. There might be more in the future. And you'll see we have MuseAmp Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. These all work as kind of standalone scripts. It installs everything it needs to actually mess with your music files and change them. And on Windows and Mac, it's as simple as installing them here. Although, to get to work on Mac, you have to disable a bunch of different security settings for this file specifically. And that's because, like I said, I don't have a paid developer license, so unless I do that, you can't just run it. You need to disable 15 different security settings because that's part of the Mac kind of setup. That's how they do things. For Windows, you can just install this and then double-click to run it, and it should just run. Right? I haven't tested these personally, but I've sent these out to people on these operating systems, and they've tested these files. They've worked, and worked fine with no issues, so it's nice to have that all up and running. Like I said, at the moment it's MP3 and FLAC files. That's what I use, that's what most people use, but I will be adding support for more file types in the future. Either way, once you have it installed for your operating system of choice, just go open it either by double-clicking, or if you're on Linux like I am, just open it from the store or just as an actual app. It has its own icon and everything. Then from here, you'll notice there's a bunch of stuff on your screen. Most of it you don't really have to look at super hard. The main thing is this target LUFS down here. It's at -18 by default, and this is the loudness of the file. -18 is like the standard for what's called replay gain. right? That's the tagging thing, and that's what this is all about. It's replay gain 2.0. Minus 18 is the standard. Minus 16 is what they use on Apple Music. Minus 14 is what they use on Spotify and YouTube. And I think televisions use either minus 18 or minus 20. I forgot which one. But either way, my personal target of choice is minus 16. That's what I like using. I agree with Apple Music. You should try them out yourself to figure out what loudness you like. But for me, I found minus 16 works amazing. Minus 18 is the recommended standard. And yeah, all you have to do is either hit add files to add any particular files, or add folder to add an entire folder of files, and you just select the folder and it'll pick all the files in it. I'll actually show that option off real quick. We'll just hit add folder, and then all you have to do is just click on whatever folder you want to select. You can either navigate to it or however you want to do it. In my case, I'll just hit the downloads folder. That's where I have my test file in right now, and I'll go hit select. And it'll scan through everything in that folder until it finds every MP3 or FLAC file. You can see it found 3 MP3s I didn't even know were in there, and that's because I had the search subfolders thing on by default, meaning it not only searched the download folder, it also searched the folders in the download folder. So if you don't want that, make sure you turn that off. It's on by default. And then these 3 MP3 files I didn't know were here. I'm just going to select all of them by clicking. You can either left click or just shift click to drag on multiple, and then just hit remove files, and they'll be removed from the list. I can stretch these menus out to see whatever I want to see, right? So I can see the name of the file. This is JazzSpace. It has the file extension. The file loudness, replay gain, and clipping will be set after you do anything, right? You're not going to do that ahead of time. But for example, I could hit analyze and tag, and this is how you actually apply the tag to the file. This will overwrite a replay gain tag. It even gives you a warning, right? It will overwrite existing tags. Hit yes, and then it'll tell you once things are done. The progress bar will also move up based on the amount of files. So if you do this on 8 files, right, each one of them would be like 12.5%. It would go up 12.5% with each file completed, so you get some nice active feedback. And you can see, right, it's already at minus 16, because that's what I like keeping them at, and I actually did change the file itself to be at minus 16, and in order to get to minus 18, I'd have to do minus 2, and that's what it set the replay gain to. Now, this clipping category is basically whenever audio gets too loud, it does what's called clipping, where it basically gets so loud that it goes out of the bounds of what kind of data can be retained, is my understanding of it. Basically, if it starts clipping, it sounds really bad, and something you want to avoid. It sounds so much worse the second it starts clipping. And this is just kind of a warning to tell you that, like, this is going to mess up your file if you do this, so just be very careful, especially if you're making stuff really loud. I think for LUFS, it goes from minus 5 to minus 30. So if you go all the way to minus 5, almost everything's going to start clipping. And it's really not recommended to do that, but you know, it's a tool. Whoever wants to use it, whatever way they want to use it, is allowed to use it that way. I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do, or stop you from doing whatever you want to do. But either way, you can see that's how you analyze and tag. And then if I actually want to go apply it, right, I want to actually change the loudness of the file, I can hit apply gain, and it'll warn you that it can irreparably damage the file regardless of format, because there's some rumors online that says FLAC files won't be damaged if you do this. That's not true. This will damage FLAC files beyond repair. I'm going to hit yes, I will continue. This won't like break your files, but it's just if you're really big into audio, it will be irreversible, and it won't be the original source quality necessarily. It won't sound awful. The average person won't even tell that it was changed, other than that it's louder or quieter. But if you're really big into audio, it's a really big thing. So that's why those options exist. You can also create a copy of the files instead of modifying in place. So let's say I want to test out, hey, how does this sound when it's really, really loud? I can actually select that option. Let's say I set this to like minus 10, which is really, really loud, and then hit apply gain. I actually have to now select where I want to create a MuseAmp modified folder. That's what the folder is going to be called. And hit OK, and I threw it in the exact same folder where the original audio is. I'm going to hit select, and just like that, gain has been applied to files. So now if we go to our file explorer, we have our original file, which I just changed to minus 18. So if I go and actually play this file right here, you can go here. All right, this is what minus 18 is sounding like through whatever volume it's set to after YouTube messes with it. And mainly you just want to hear this as a point of comparison, right? This is minus 18. It's actually pretty close to how this originally was. because most musicians actually keep their music at around -18 or 16 because they're also aware of this. And then here is the one in the modified folder. So we go in the modified folder. There's a second one. You'll notice there's a different size, right? It's a bigger file because it's way louder. And I'm going to go play this one right now by dragging it in. And just prepare your ears. I'm not going to change the audio level or anything. I'm just going to play it. Alright, so yeah, that's like a big difference there. I didn't change the volume of this or anything. I didn't change the volume of the computer, the recordings, or anything. The volume of the file itself got changed, and you can even kind of hear some level of loss in audio quality, I believe. And that's just something worth being aware of, right? If you do apply gain to all your files, the louder you get, the more likely you are to actually damage your file to a point where you might hear a difference. So creating copies and testing them out first might be a really good idea, and that's why that's an option. But overall, that's all the options that this app has. It's a very, very simple tool, application, whatever you want to call it. It does one thing, and in my opinion, it does it very, very well. I've bug tested it a good bit to make sure it doesn't mess with your files in any unintended ways. That doesn't, delete random files. It doesn't make files where it shouldn't be making them. Right, I made sure it works as well as it can and that it has everything it needs out of the box. What's been kind of crazy to me is that even though I haven't made this video announcing it, I literally just put it up on the FlatHub store, it somehow is already at over 500 downloads, which is a little insane to me. And I have this linked in the repo so I can just look at it more directly. But you can see it's been getting, since it released, almost like a month. No, I think it is actually exactly a month ago. Ever since it released exactly a month ago, it's been getting an average of like 10 downloads a day, which is just a little insane, honestly. There's not much more I can say beyond that. Hopefully everyone who installed it has been having a great time with this. I know I was looking for something like this, right? I used MP3 gain back when I used MP3 files, but now that I use FLAC files, there wasn't even an option like this out there, so I went and made it, and hopefully it's useful. And overall, if you think it might be useful to you, make sure you give it a download. The links for it all will be in the description, link to the source code, links to where to download it, and things like that. And with all that explained, I'll be signing off for now.